Okay, here we go. I'm back. Okay, so this is a wine bottle bag. They've got all different designs. This has a snowflake on the front. You could leave it, or you could actually pick it off because it's like a hot glue on there, and you could put another design if that's what you wanted. So we're not going to use the hat. We're just going to take this apart and we're going to turn it inside out. So my glue gun is heating up here. And when you turn it inside out, poke out those corners because we need those corners. We're working with those corners right now. Now, another thing we're using, I told you the other day we're going to use a creamer bottle. This is one of the things we're using a creamer bottle on. And we need something for weight. I run across this all the time with things that are weighted. People like to use beans, they like to use rice, and yes, that is a very good weight, but it's not very good for long term, because even if you put your beans, your rice, whatever your food weight that you're using, what's going to happen, even in a Ziploc bag, or even if you just stick it in here, it's going to sweat, condensation, because you're going to be storing this away. And what happens? The rice becomes mush and the beans sprout and you get bugs. So I always tell everybody, now I buy this in a super large bag because I use so much of it and it's heavy. You can buy a small amount at Hobby Lobby. They're called poly pellets. Now I use an enormous amount of these, so I have a huge box, huge container. Let me get some of them. They're just small little plastic pellets. So what I'm using is a funnel. Let me put these back in here, because these things, once they spill, they go everywhere. So normally I have a plastic water pitcher that I store these in, and I pour from that. So I'm going to take the lid off. And the only thing we're going to do with this bottle is just put probably a quarter of the poly pellets in here. Now you can use, Dollar Tree has little bags of gravel you can buy. For this concept, you can even use dirt, as long as it's dry. You don't want to put anything wet in here because plastic and you're going to have mold. So anything that you can weight this with. But those little bags of rock from Dollar Tree is more than you're going to use. So, but I'm using poly pellets because that's what I use. Now I order this bag from Amazon. They're the cheapest place I found. Now, this bag was completely full. This is like 3 gallons. And well, you see how much I have. So that's how much of it I use. Now, I'm going to use a little cup to scoop out of here, because I know if I try to pour it from this bag, I'm going to have poly pellets all over. So a funnel is really good to use. Now, I have a set of these metal funnels that I picked up somewhere at a flea market, a yard sale, something, because I wanted this biggest one. Now all this is going to do is help the gnome set. So can you see it goes up to there? So not quite half. I spilled these one day in the store. Oh my goodness, was that a mess. So we're going to glue the lip. We're going to put some glue right around the lip of this, and we're going to glue this on because we don't want it coming open. So we're just going to glue it down on there. And then figure out where your lid touches when you close it and glue that. So mine touches more at where the spout is, so I'm going to glue that, and I'm also going to glue right around the edge. Now that is sealed. Once that glue dries, you're not getting this apart. So we're also, you got your bag turned inside out. This is corner to corner. Find the middle of your bag and pull it apart like this. And pull your two ends together. So you got this arrow. Look, and straighten it out so you have the same amount of fold on both sides. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these folds and we're going to fold it back maybe an inch on both sides, like this. We're going to take some hot glue and we're going to glue these flaps down. What we're doing is making a square bottom. See? It's glued down. Now you may have to hold this because we're using hot glue on fabric just for a second. But you want to make sure, or as close that you can go, that you have the same amount on both sides. So you have it sitting even. And I have some fiberfill here. This is a good time that you can use your plastic grocery bags. You can even use your used dryer sheets for this because like this is never going to be laundered. So there you go. We have a square bottom. So once this is caught where it's not going to come apart, turn your bag right side out. And see, there you go. Your bottom, it's not square, it's rectangle, but there you go. Okay? So the snowflake here, it's got glue strings all over it. They didn't even take their glue strings off. So all you gotta do is just for a second, hit it with a hairdryer and all your glue strings magically disappear. Where they go, I don't know, but they're gone. So at this point, we're going to put our bottle in. Now see, this creamer bottle just fits, which is nice. Now if you have any excess room around the bottom, this is where you're going to shove in your fiberfill, your bags, your dryer sheets, something like that. But this creamer bottle is one of the larger ones, so it fits pretty good. So we're going to take their pull string out. We're not using it. We're not using it as they have it. We're going to use it, but we're not using it as they have it. It must be sewn in there, so let me get a pair of scissors. Okay, so we got that out. So the neck of our bottle is actually down here. So that is where I'm going to put my drawstring. But You can fill this up. Let's do that. Let's fill it up. I have fiber fields, so I'm just going to tuck a whole bunch of this down around where the neck of that bottle comes up. I still would have pulled the drawstring out. Just make sure you get even all the way around. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold in these flaps, fold it like a present, and glue it. So all I'm doing is pushing in the sides. Find your front, push in the sides, and I'm going to put a little hot glue here. And then I'm going to fold in these flaps. Ouch, it got me again. Hey, there's hazards in every job, right? So let me pull this, push these down in there. Okay. So I folded it together. I put a little hot glue underneath and on top. At least this is not going to burn like that other one. So I'm going to put a little glue on the flaps. I was going to do some pre-recorded, and I thought instead of pre-recording them, I'll just go live and you all can catch me later. But make sure you like, share, comment, because anything in the November crafts, the 2 highest contributors is going to have their choice of what they want. So, good luck with that. So I'm just going to hold this here for a second. So what we did, we made a square on the bottom and the same thing on the top. I'm going to let this catch. Then we're going to move on to the hat and the beard. Now when I went to Dollar Tree to get a mop, the only thing they had was a gray. Well, we could have done that and made it a senior a gnome, but I want this pop up. I want more of a white beard. So I've got a piece of quilt batting. Now you can buy this in small amounts if you want to use the quilt batting. How much? I'm not sure. So this has the snowflake on it, so I'm going to peel it off, and it just comes right off because it's only on there with the hot glue. And then just going to put this in my Christmas decorations and for my craft supplies, and we'll probably use it on something somewhere along the line. But this is coming right off, and it's not leaving any residue underneath because the beard's going to cover this, so there's no sense of it being here. Now we could put it on the hat. We could do that. But that is the nice thing about using the cheaper glue sticks, because if you glue something together and you don't want it there, you can pull it right off. The glue sticks that I like to use for the most part, there, I was having a problem getting that one off. I thought, oh boy, I just said it's coming off easy, and it's not. See, the glue's just coming right off. Now sometimes if you have a spot that you have glue on, or you accidentally drop glue on, let it harden. Take the nozzle of your gun, hold it back on that, and it'll heat it up and it'll come off. Okay, so we pulled this off and it's really frayed, so we probably won't use that. But see, all gone. So I picked up this pair. These are men's socks, but I like the color because we can use it for the nose. And I have this burgundy fabric that I'm going to make a hat out of. So we don't need a really big hat. Oh, geez, there's a triangle right there. We could use that. Will that fit around the bottle? Yes. And I didn't even plan that one. So we have a triangle. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Now we might need a little bit of fiberfill or your bags for inside the hat. It depends on the weight of your fabric. If you have a heavyweight fabric, now you can do this with muslin. You can't see what I'm doing on my table. Okay, so we have this, and it just happened to be cut out on the fabric. So we're going to glue the long sides. And we're just going to lay one right on top of the other. Now I'm going to make a tassel or a pom-pom out of the quilt batting. So you can use a pom-pom. You can do these pretty much. Gnomes are very forgiving. So I'm just pressing this together, making sure that this is sealed pretty good, and I'm going to turn it inside out. Now if you have pinking shears, you can cut this and give it a decorative edge, and you wouldn't have to turn this inside out. But mine's in the other room, so whoops, I missed a part. Okay. Now you could, if you sew, you can sew this. You can hand sew it, but I'm trying to keep all of the things we do a glue gun, because I know some of you don't sew. So there's a pom-pom on the end of this hat. We actually could pull off and put on this one, but I'm just going to use the quilt batting. Oops. How did I miss these spots? I didn't push it enough. There we go. So let's turn this inside out. We still might find a spot here or there, and we'll just catch it once we turn it. Yep, there's the spot. So Tony's putting shelves together for me today so I can get my room set up, because I can't use the sewing part of my room for crafting. So I'm just going to use my scissors and push this point out a little bit more. Push that together to make sure. Now, I'm going to pull it over his head. Plumbers. One just left. So that's what we've got so far. Whoops, his head's not straight. Okay. So I'm going to put a dot of glue up under the hat just to hold it here and there. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this is the last I get to see a plumber. No more problems. It's cost a fortune to get things done the right way. Oops, another glue string. Okay. Ouch. So I'm going to cut a piece of this quilt batting to go around where the hat is. Now I'm not measuring anything. I'm just, let me move him so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just cutting as straight of a line as I... Now you can give this a scalloped edge, you know, like a wave. Oh, that's probably big enough. It doesn't have to be a straight edge. Now this is doubled because this is a thin batting that I have. And I'm just going to put it right around the bottom of the hat like that. Yeah, so I'm going to glue it. Wait, where's my center seam? I'm going to glue it all the way around except for right in the front. That's where I'm going to tuck his nose under. Okay? So I'm going to start at the back where the center seam is. And that's where I'm going to start. Now you can put it actually on your, you know, before I go completely around him, we're going to do his beard. So how long do we want this beard to be? Now we can grunge this afterward if you want it primitive. I made new coffee grunge this morning. I'm trying a new instant coffee that I got at Aldi's. So let's go almost to the bottom. This is doubled. because I think I'm going to do a layered beard. Now you want this to come up just a little bit on the hat. And I see that part over there has come apart. So put this around, and then the hat will go over top of that, or the trim. Just barely on the hat. Okay, so now let's finish this trim. And I'm pulling it just a little bit so that it'll be taut. Okay, so now our beard's too long. We're going to trim it. So what I'm going to do is, it's 2 layers here. I'm going to take the one almost to the bottom. And then the other one, I'm going to trim up just a little bit, and we're going to fringe it. So we can fringe both of these at the same time. So then these pointed corners, I'm going to round off on both sides. So there's what we got so far. We have 2 layers of the quilt batting. Lay this down. We're going to put both layers together and fringe it. And all I'm doing is just making strips all the way up to the brim of the hat. Now these can be as thin or as wide as you want. Okay, so now I'm going to run my fingers through and separate the 2 layers. So, there we go so far. So what we could do is we could take this little hat that goes over the top of the bottle, and we can fish the point of this hat right inside of there. Let's see what that looks like. And glue that on. What's that look like? So we actually could make the hat longer, depending on where we put it. What do you think? Because then the tip of the hat, well, part of the hat will match the body. Let's do that. Let's glue this puppy on there. Straighten this hat out. Okay. So then we can put jingle bells on here. I have berries and florals and Make sure it's glued all the way around that it catches. So then when we're done, we're going to put a dot of glue underneath the hat to keep it on whichever side we decide. So that's cute. I like that. So let's get a jingle bell. So I have some tiny ones. And I'm thinking put a jingle bell right above the pom-pom. I did glitter the top hat we did last night. Now I know I got a message saying that top hats are supposed to be black. Who says that? It could be anything you want. And we're going with red and white. So red and white's what we got. So there you go. There's the jingle bell. Okay, let's take this hat, or this sock, and we're just going to cut off just part of the toe. And we're going to fiber fill it, or these scraps that from this quilt batting we could use too. So now, gnomes have big noses. You don't want your nose to be so big you don't want your nose to be so big that it takes over the look of the rest of the gnome. So I'm just going to use a piece of this twine, and so I stuffed it, made a circle, I twisted this to get it tight, and now I'm just going to put a piece of this twine around it to hold it, and then we're going to trim it. Sometimes you need 6 hands. Now, I saw somebody do a gnome's beard out of this twine, and it was really cute. So we tied it, and we're just going to cut off this excess. So there we go. We got just a ball. And we're going to glue it to his face. Now you could get 2 of these wine bottle bags, and make arms. So out of 1 bag you could do 2 arms and do feet, legs. So you can add your own twist to it. The Dollar General, when I was there yesterday, and I'm tucking this right up underneath of this batting, just a little bit, and I'm going to hold it there. I glued it. They didn't have 2 of any one design they had. So I thought I could use just red fabric, and I just figured I'd do just a simple gnome and hold this here. So a lot of people are using knee-highs for their nose. Looks really cute. Word of caution doing that is knee-highs are made out of nylon, and the hot glue will start to melt it. So just keep that in mind if you're deciding to use a knee-high for your nose, because you don't want that burn on your fingers, because it melts, and then it's like plastic. It'll stick to your fingers, and yeah, no, I don't even want to imagine that. Let's see if that'll stick now. That's what we've got so far. There's his hat with the jingle bell. Okay. So we're going to put a design, something over here. So we could use one of these big jingle bells. That's too big. Here's one that we grunged one night. We could put that there with some, get my fingers out of the way. With some, we could cut apart this snowflake that we took off and put parts of that. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll put parts of this. Let me pull these glue strings off. Goodness. Okay, I'm going to put a dot of glue on each one of these little parts, and then we'll glue the rest down. And I mean a tiny dot. Sometimes it's hard to get a small little dot. Sometimes if you put your hot glue on a toothpick and then do it that way, you sometimes get a little bit better control. Glue these dots down. Now we'll glue the rest of it. So that's just part of the snowflake there. And we'll put another piece of this on there. Because some of this really pulled apart when I was pulling it off. But some of it's still pretty decent. And I'm going to do the same thing, just these little dots at the ends of the snowflake first. Okay, now I'm going to put some berries. We cut these berries off the other night off the stems. So we have all these individual berries, and I think I'm going to stick some individual berries there. Whoops. So I'm going to stick this jingle bell on there. I still think that one's too big. Let me get another little one.
Cute.
I'm putting the last part of this snowflake on here. So we have these little candy canes. I'm going to pull apart another one of these tips. Okay. Have to have Tony sharpen these things for me again. I use these on my bears because if a joint slips or something when I'm putting it in, I have to cut it out. So I use wire cutters. Okay, let's put some of these berries on here. That one didn't want to catch in the glue. I really like these frosted berries. These are really nice. I'm going to have to figure out how to make my own because I'm not going to pay $7 a stem. So I'm going to put red and the frosted on here. So let's put a candy cane. Just gluing that down a little bit more. Let's put another candy cane. Whoops. Ow. Yeah, let's do it that way. So there we go. We have some of the snowflake that we pulled off the front. We have some berries. Do we need a jingle bell? Why not, right? These little ones, I put the dab of glue on the item because it's hard to hold these tiny ones. So I'm going to make a little tiny bow, and this is what we pulled out of the drawstring. I'm just going to make a little bow with it. Let me get this thing out of my way. I'm going to make 2 loops, bunny ears, as we teach the little ones to tie their shoes. And we're just going to cross over the bunny ears and then pull it through. My fingers are not working today. There we go. So I'm just going to pull it tight, and then I'm going to pull these loops in to make a small little bow. Just like that. And I'm going to cut the ends. And then I'm going to untwist this jute and pull it apart. There we go. And we're going to put it on the candy canes. Okay, there you go. Now we actually could have put a shorter layer on the beard. So there you go. That's a wine bottle. And inside is just a creamer bottle filled with a weight. I used doll weights. Let's get a little dab of glue underneath of here. That way the hat will stay and not be so floppy. Let me know what you think. Hi Mom, I just saw you on there. So there you go, there's a gnome. Real quick and easy. We didn't have to make all the components. It's just a wine bottle with a creamer bottle in the inside and some fiberfill. So you can do the beard out of mop. My Dollar Tree was totally out of the white mops, and the girls said good luck finding one. So there's a little gnome. He's weighted. He's got jingle bells on him. And you can glitter this. You can get glitter spray, which is a real fine mist, which would be cute, especially on the hat. So, okay, thanks for joining. If you're catching this on replay, make sure you put hashtag replay. The more you watch, the more you share and like, the more chances you have on winning anything that's being made the month of November. I'm doing the drawing the day after Thanksgiving. That way you can have it in time for Christmas, because things from here to the north, for some strange reason, takes 2 weeks to go. I don't know why. So thanks for joining. I'm putting together the reindeer, so I'm probably going to come back on here sometime today and do the reindeer. And it's a simple, easy one too. It's foam board and gift wrap. Okay, thanks y'all. Hi Mom.